Redditors who were head over heels in love with their SO but got divorced. What went wrong? Turns out she was more interested in the wedding than in the actual marriage. My friend is like this with her fiancé, and I'm scared for the fiancé. It says a lot when you want to tell your friend's fiancé to run away. I married my best friend. After almost a decade of marriage, she tries for grad school and doesn't get accepted. She started partying and not coming home at night. She tells me that she blew the neighbor, wants a divorce, and that I was the reason for being unhappy. I was willing to work on things, but she called the police claiming that I was emotionally abusing her. Now, we are a year into a nasty divorce and custody battle. Her boyfriend moved in with her and our 3 toddlers within a month of me moving out. Did you get any custody of your toddlers? Undecided. Victims win in MN family court. It breaks my heart when my toddlers tell me that they are helping mommy by falsely telling people that I hurt them. Someday, my kids will be older and understand. Hopefully. My ex decided that doing coke with a coworker was more important than coming home to your wife. Apparently me doing all the adult work and expecting him to contribute equally means I'm a bitch and controlling. Found out he was fucking the coworker on my birthday and spent over a year fighting him in court. BC he wanted alimony and spousal support. Finally in arbitration, the millionth person to explain to him it didn't matter how much more I made. We weren't together long enough, finally freed me from the insanity. After 16 years together, 13 married, he left me for a much younger girl he met online. He went looking for hookups. I had no clue anything was up until I found irrefutable evidence a few days before our wedding anniversary. He blamed me and left quickly. I had supported him through another degree, a new career, and when he left he was set up in a new business, no student loans, no debt. I believed he was working late when he said he had to. Obviously he was not. Divorce was brutal, I lost in so many ways, and I have a long road of healing ahead, even after almost 2 years. When I was about 34, as was my BF, he left me for a girl who was 17 after 4 years together. It destroyed me. As with you, I had absolutely no clue that he was seeing her because I trusted him. After that, I've never been in a long-term relationship again. I trust no one and doubt I ever will. I absolutely feel your pain. I hope you become better at moving on than I did. He had a severe anxiety disorder and decided he didn't want to take his medication anymore. He became worse and worse despite me trying to change what I did and how I talked to avoid upsetting him. One day I came home from a hard day at work, I was the breadwinner, and asked if he could do the dishes because I was exhausted. He flipped out and left, and never came back. Straight up abandoned me. I called everyone he knew, no one knew where he was. Filed a missing persons report. A week later he called me from his mother's. She had lied to me when I called her, and said she didn't know where he was. He had gone straight to her place, and was there the whole time, leaving me to be worried sick. He said he was too sick to be with anyone and said he wanted a divorce despite my pleas to go to couples counseling or anything else that might help. Happy ending though. A few years later I met a fantastic guy who treats me better than anyone ever has. Turns out she was having an affair with my gym buddy before and after we got married. Sprinkle in some suicidal threats and endangering our daughter. 2 years of contentious divorce and a threat against my life. I'm just glad I survived. We were together 13 years, since she was 18 and I was 21, married for the last 7. I wanted to split up. She most certainly did not. At the time, I felt like something was wrong with me. I figured I was having a midlife crisis. The last time I ever saw her, she told me that when we first met I had saved her. She was going through a dark period in her life, and she thought of me as her hero. 6 or 7 months later I woke up and it was like a switch had been flicked in my head and I regretted the hell out of splitting up. Understandably, she had moved on with her life. I was subsequently diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and learned that it can affect your behavior. There is a condition called MS personality wherein a sufferer's loved ones describe their behavior as psychopathic, completely devoid of empathy. Either I was the world's biggest douchebag, or my immune system chewing holes in my brain played a part. Either way it doesn't matter, the outcome is the same. It's been 7 years and I know I will never love anyone else. Wow. I feel lucky after having read these other stories. I was madly in love with my first wife, and I still care for her, and would do anything to help her. We were married 16 years and then got divorced. It wasn't any one single event like an affair or something. We just grew into different people. I summed up in a few quips. While she was pursuing a professional image, I'm a counterculture D-list celebrity in my town. For background, I own a couple of head shops while she is currently a dean at a university. When we divorced, she was already high up in administration. She was pursuing her spirituality while I'm a skeptic and non-believer, an atheist if you will. She wanted to move back to our home state, and I've made a life in our current location. Since the divorce, she has gotten to go back to our home state where she landed her dream job. And the last major reason is she preferred opera while I liked camping. We still talk on the phone every few months. After 5 years of being single, I've remarried again to a woman who is closer in lifestyle to me. It was bittersweet to end a marriage, but we did it with no animosity. It just got to a point where we were friends rather than lovers, husband and wife. I don't know if it went horribly wrong as much as we both changed into different people over the years. I still wish her happiness, and I know I could still call her if I was ever in a pinch. Didn't quite make it to marriage, but turns out she was only interested in me fixing her life. Can you explain what is meant by fixing her life? What did she want you to fix? She played affectionate and caring and loving, while manic, near homeless, and in an abusive relationship. I was lonely and took towards her affection, which turns out, according to her, was her plan. I help her come down from mania, stay out of psych wards, get her into a group home, and eventually out of a group home in with friends. I stood up for her and fought for her on every level of injustice between court, police, group home abuse, abuse from her mother, and past flings. I bought her a lot of stuff to improve her life, from hygiene to entertainment to clothing. By the end of the relationship, you basically couldn't tell what kind of life she lived prior to me entering it. 2 weeks after helping her move in with friends, she takes a misunderstanding, a common occurrence, blows it out of proportion, and makes me look like a monster to justify breaking up and having her friends, previously my friend group, support her in ostracizing me. Trust. I always trusted her, but she never did trust me. This led to a dysfunctional bedroom life and later to her leaving me. I also have a feeling it drove her to another man because just a few months after leaving me she was already in a committed relationship. A word of advice that was given to me by my dad: if the other person is always accusing you of cheating, then they're probably cheating. And something I've learned on my own: if the other person jumps into another relationship right away, then it was probably going on before you broke up. Short version: separation and lack of communication lead us to become two different people. Those two people had very different worldviews. Did you really discuss your worldviews before getting married? Yes, we were married for 10 years before we got divorced. We weren't some high school kids who got hitched after prom. Due to a family issue, I had to pretty much live halfway across the world for a little over a year. Beijing, in a place that was in a very different time zone. For context, it would be 6 in the morning there. He made communication hard and it wasn't an easy place to visit. She cheated on me 5 times. I was going to try again after the last time to forgive and move on, and I met her after she got off work to tell her we could go away for the weekend and figure things out. I had already cleared it with her boss, but she said no. That weekend she was seen at our small town's festival holding hands with the other guy. I haven't looked back. I had a lot of baggage that took some time to get rid of, but she was emotionally and verbally abusive, and I have never wanted her back. Like ever. After 10 years together, I realized that I wasn't happy anymore. We tried a lot of things to make it work, but ultimately separated and divorced. He's still my absolute best friend, and we co-parent our 4 years old like champs. I have no idea why I couldn't be happy with him for a very long time. I thought I was broken and just couldn't be happy, but now know that's not true. I think it may be that we were just too young, 21. And tried too hard, sacrificed too much to make our lives work together when really we personally would have been better off individually. So this is not my story, but a family friend's. She married her high school sweetheart. They'd been together for 10-ish years, I believe, and before they pulled the trigger on marriage they took a break to make sure it was what they really wanted. After they break they were still in love, so they got married. I went to the wedding and it was nice. Very fun. and they seemed very into each other. Fast forward 4 years. The marriage still seems to be going smoothly, and the family friend, the bride, decides to go back to school and study for a medical degree, I think. Medical or law. The specific degree doesn't matter. Her husband is extremely supportive of the decision and encourages her to go for it. 1 week after she starts school, he tells her that he wants a divorce. She's completely floored and asks him for the reason, but he doesn't really have one. He just said that it's over. She offered to drop out of college immediately, go to marriage counseling, and do whatever was needed to fix the marriage, but he just staunchly refused across the board. So she gave him a final warning. She'd do whatever she could to fix the marriage, but once the paperwork was signed, that'd be it forever, period. So she wanted to make sure that he was completely sure it was what he wanted. He confirmed it was. The paperwork was signed, and the marriage was no more. And about a month later, guess who comes crawling back? Smart gal that she is, our family friend tells him to take a hike. We have a few theories why he wanted the divorce, but nothing concrete. Last I heard, this family friend had gotten engaged again to her new boyfriend of about a year. He's about 10 years younger than her, and her family is understandably concerned, and had along with her fiancé about whether or not he was sure, making sure that he knew what he was signing up for, especially with a woman this much older than him. Are you still going to love her when you're pushing 30 and she's 40? They're afraid that she's just in panic mode because she's 30 now and doesn't want her life to slip her by, so she's latching onto the first guy she finds, damned of the consequences. Only time will tell now about this situation. I really do hope it works out for her though. She's been through enough shit and deserves some happiness. She got a new job after our marriage, started partying with her coworkers and hanging out with a new crowd a lot. This involved coming home drunk after midnight. She couldn't understand how I wasn't thrilled with her cause she was achieving great things at work and feeling fulfilled. In retrospect, I think she just saw marriage as a box to be ticked off. Once she'd done that, she decided to focus on other stuff instead. Pretty sure she has undiagnosed BPD. Hope her family gets her some psychiatric help. He joined a religious cult and completely changed. Love fades. Passion fades. Long relationships and marriages require dedication, commitment, and work in order to last. You have to be willing to stick with your SO even when it feels like you don't love them anymore. Be willing to communicate your problems, and be ready to work through any rough spots. We grew up. We were high school sweethearts. We loved each other deeply. We were together for 18 years. I went through a spiritual phase, meditating and yoga. He wanted to spread his wings and ride with new biker friends. He also didn't want to be tied down to new house, kids, maybe me. He is deceased now. I still think and dream about him often, and I still tell the kids and others what a good guy he was. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.